Actually, I almost look comfortable there now.
I'll almost look comfortable, but I suppose this is just how you enter. This is not how you ride the airplane, I don't think, anyway.
Well, yeah, we do have our wing walker version coming out, though. And Dave, you'll be the first one to cover it.
Dave gets to be the wing walker on the first torpedo.
Right.
That's great. That's good. Put down the camera and get on this wing.
Who's that old guy that you've got on the other wing here, Dan?
Well, this is Scott Severn. He's the marketing director for Indus Aviation, and here's one of our airplanes that probably has as much history as any LSA out here, in that it goes way back in time and was the precursor to the Piper Cherokee line at one time. But they've done a lot of things with this airplane since they made it an LSA, including some cool stuff with the cowling, but we've talked about that before. What's new now, and that Scott's going to tell us about, is some changes to the interior. This airplane, for some people, has not been quite the right configuration for large Americans and so forth, and now they've made some nice decisions about that. Scott, these seats look a little different to me. Tell us about this a little bit.
Well, the big changes we've done here are adding more reclining, more suppining to the seats here. Originally, the seats have come up in the front of this bulkhead.
The bulkhead doesn't, you can't move the bulkhead back, I understand,
that's
right?
correct.
Okay.
But we wanted more room back this way so you could lean back a little bit better and get more shoulder room in the airplane. So we've done that by putting a backrest for the seat backs behind the bulkhead.
Yeah, you just kind of tucked the seat behind it then, didn't you?
Yeah, and it's firmly locked in place there.
Okay.
You still have access to the baggage back here by pulling the seat back out. But for the larger chested people, it gives you a lot more room to sit back. Now, what you can do, if you like, this seat will sit up in front, so you can be offset.
I see. A little staggered seating then, so two guys aren't bumping shoulders quite as much.
You bet, if you're real wide. Also, the headrests up here are adjustable. They'll move up or down.
Yeah, I see they're kind of cockeyed right now. Is that on purpose?
Absolutely.
And how does that work?
Well, they just come off with Velcro up and down, and you can set it for your comfort.
There you go. So you can kind of put that right behind your neck then.
Absolutely. It actually helps for safety as well. If you should have a little incident where you want some head support back there, you don't hit just a rare bulkhead back there.
Now, I'm noticing something else that always is important to me. I got a little bit of a sensitive back, and I'm always unhappy that airplane seats, in fact, lots of chairs and everything, don't have any lumbar support in them. The human body's not shaped that way. I can see a little bit here from my perspective. Tell us about that.
Well, thanks for pointing that out. Right down here, as we come back into the bend of the seat, we've got a generous lumbar support that's pretty firm. It's not a real sharp bend because that, after a while, gets very fatiguing. But it's a nice, generous lumbar support in there that gives your lower back some good support. Really helpful in those long cross countries.
Well, I can see that. And you know, I'm noticing from the earlier models, which had a different kind of finish to the interior, it looks like you bought a little bit of space over there.
Well, we probably picked up about 1.5 inches of width in the interior here by removing the side panels. It gives you just a little more shoulder, a little more elbow room, a little more room down at the hips, making it a little friendlier cockpit for today's pilot.
And in addition, I'm seeing some bolsters on the side of the seat, and I think you said you were going to change that a little bit, but that usually gives you kind of a bucket seat-like feel. Tell us about that.
Well, these seats do hold you a little bit more firmly. It feels a little more like sitting in a Corvette or a fighter plane. Just grabs your legs and holds you like a bucket seat. Exactly right.
A really nice finish to the airplane. You know what? Let's change camera positions here and have a look at that panel, Dave. We got another nice little pretty airplane. You guys doing some neat paint jobs, and this is another cool one here. But let's come back onto the inside and look a little more. One of the things before we look at the panel is this new arrangement of the sliding canopy. That seems to move a lot easier. How's that happening?
Well, it sure does. We just configured the way that we're making the frames and the way we fit them up at the factory. It makes for a lighter, much more smoothly rolling canopy with locks on either side. So you've really got some security for this canopy, and it's a nice, easy to use push button lock. Gives you a better weather seal if you leave the airplane outside on the ramp, as well as a better seal and a fit up here in front.
In addition to the canopy moving easily, one of the things I've always loved about this airplane, and I've flown it this way, you can have the canopy open. And that's a terribly cool thing. I got a great shot of Scott actually with a grin about as wide as his whole face with the canopy open. Isn't that true? You can fly it at any speed?
Boy, absolutely. Flying with the canopy open is, well, actually it increases the cockpit width to about 26 feet.
For guys with really long arms.
That's right.
It was fun to do that, you know. You don't have to be an old ultralight pilot like Scott and I and Dave, but who can't love an airplane that you can open and feel the sky inside?
It's Sunday driving at its best.
But come on in now for more serious work. You had one of your customers who said they wanted to do some, they wanted to use the airplane to take a guy, or I should say a person, from sport pilot all the way through airline transport rating, and they can do an awful lot of that in this airplane, but it needed a few changes. Tell us about what you did, Scott.
Well, that's exactly right. From the equipment side, it's a full IFR panel here with vacuum instruments and electric turn and bang, but also it's got a standby vacuum system. That's part of something you need to learn in instrument flying is what do you do if the vacuum pump fails. Along with that, we're putting in the 430, the Garmin 430 GPS and the Garmin 330 with traffic, with TIS in the transponder, so that you're learning traffic awareness as well. Very important to the flight training school that wants to take pilots on the way, all the way up beyond just private pilot or sport pilot.
So you can teach pilots quite a bit just with what you've got in here. They can go a long way toward an instrument rating.
Absolutely, absolutely.
But I feel like I'm also seeing some difference in the visual appeal of the top of the instrument panel.
We have softened this up. We've moved the glare panel back a little bit. We've changed the curves on it so it's nice and smooth and flowing. What that does, it doesn't distract the eye and it lets the eye go into the panel much more nicely. This is a matted black. It's an aircraft leather designed specifically for glare shields that doesn't fade and it doesn't glare.
Excellent. So some really nice changes here to the very popular Thorpedo T211. This airplane's been around for a while. Everybody who flies it has a good time in it. It's a little airplane, so it's nice on a crowded ramp, but it delivers a big performance.
So we want to get more information on the airplane. Where will we go?
Well, we'll go to the company website, which is indusav.com. That's INDUS, the company name, followed by av.com. And it's worth noting that there's some new phone numbers for the company, and you can find all that right on their website, along with a great deal of other information.
And do you have a flight report on this airplane?
I do. I think I've flown a couple different variations of this, and they're on my website, bydanjohnson.com. That's bydanjohnson.com.
It was a beautiful day for flying. Ernst Kuhn of Neuss, Germany, was piloting his small two-seater 1,000 feet above some idyllic French countryside near the town of Gap. In an instant, it became a pilot's worst nightmare. Out of the corner of his eye, he saw an airplane climbing right toward him.
So what I did, pull a little bit. Then when you see the video, something happened. I believe it was a rope in my propeller.
It sure was. He was ensnared in a cable used by a plane towing a glider. He was dropping like a stone. So what did he do?
The first I did was switch off the engine. And immediately afterwards, pull the parachute.
A parachute not just for him, but for his whole plane. He wafted into an orchard and walked away without a scratch.
I can't understand how it was so, but it was so. It was a moment with, I think, very, very much adrenaline.